Good morning, everyone. My name is Kate Galantich. On behalf of Carahsoft Technology, I would like to welcome you to our webinar, Revolutionizing Utility Services, Add a Jolt to Your CX. This webinar is hosted by Genesis, InflowCX, Black Hills Energy, and Carahsoft. The audio portion of this webinar can be heard through your computer speakers, and all lines have been muted to reduce any background noise. If you would like to ask a question throughout the presentation, please use the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen, and we'll do our best to answer them at the end of the presentation. This webinar is being recorded, and you will receive a link via email following the webinar. Now, before we start, just some quick background about Carahsoft. Carahsoft Technology Corporation is a trusted government IT solutions provider. The company combines technological expertise with a thorough understanding of the government procurement process to help federal, state, and local government agencies select and implement the best solution at the best possible value. And now I'd like to introduce our speakers for today. We have Steve Boberski. Steve is Senior Business Development Executive in the Public Sector Field CTO for Genesis. A digital transformation and compliance subject matter expert, Steve brings more than 2 decades of experience designing, selling, and delivering large, complex information technology and telecommunication solutions to enable government and commercial enterprise IT transformation. We have Mike Doloff. Mike Doloff is Chief Revenue Officer for InflowCX. He has over 10 years in the technology industry working in customer-facing roles. Mike joined InflowCX in 2014 and leads the marketing, sales, and customer success efforts for the organization. His expertise is in leading teams in tandem with consultants and technical resources to help customers develop their customer engagement strategies. We have Kimberly Schneider. Kimberly has been with Black Hills Energy for 20 years, entirely in the customer service function, and has moved through various roles from frontline to leadership in that time. Currently, she serves as Director of Customer Service, supporting the frontline teams in the contact center and operations dispatch functions, as well as the back office teams, including billing, payment, processing, and credit and collections. She's been married for 24 years, has a wonderful daughter, and is a big fan of a variety of pets, including dogs, chickens, and cows. Finally, we have Kimberly Hankins. Kimberly has been with Black Hills Energy for 17 years. She started working as a drive-through worker, taking payments in customer service part-time, and worked her way through in customer service, team lead, supervisor, WFM, process improvement, etc. Over the last year and a half, she has moved to support the organization transformation efforts and is currently the program manager for the enterprise transformation. And with that, I would like to pass to our first speaker, Kimberly Schneider.
Good morning, everyone. I'll just give a high-level overview of Black Hills Energy. Black Hills Energy is a natural gas and electric utility serving customers in 8 states, mostly located in the Midwest, West, and 1 southern state. We've been in business for, I think it's around 140 years, with the initial utility starting here in South Dakota in a community called Lead. Just a little bit of, overview of our customer service function as well, I thought might be helpful as we go through this conversation. We have a customer service team that is located in 2 geographic locations. A portion of our team is in Fayetteville, Arkansas, and the other portion is here in Rapid City, South Dakota. And our talking specifically about our contact center agents. Our agents are set up to serve any of the 1.3 million customers that we may receive a call from. So we do not segregate calls. They are trained to be able to handle any situation that comes in. So technology is incredibly important for efficiently managing through that process. So thought that might be helpful information as we go into this conversation.
That's great.
So,
go ahead, Steve. Yeah.
So no, just a little bit about Genesis for those who may not know. Genesis is a contact center as a service provider. We specifically focus on delivering empathy as a service, and we are also leaders in the artificial intelligence space and implementing that technology within the customer experience realm. We are a Gartner Magic Quadrant leader for CCaaS, 3 years running now, top right quadrant, and very excited to be here. Really appreciate everyone's time, and we're very excited to have BHE as a customer, I have to say.
Thanks, Steve. Hey, everyone, Mike Doloff. I'm Chief Revenue Officer. I've been working, I got to meet the Black Hills Energy team probably about 2.5 years ago or so. And so glad to be on. We're a Genesis partner, and we really help organizations like BHE really evaluate the technology, deploy it, and then optimize the customer engagement technologies. And so we've been kind of joined at the hip for the last couple of years with the crew here, and excited to really talk through, what was it like and all the experiences, and give insights to their transformation in the contact center. So glad to have Kim and Kim here. So we'll start with a poll question. It's early for some people. It's early for me, at least. It's like 7 a.m. Pacific time. So I got in at midnight on a flight, so I'm feeling punchy and ready this morning. So let's start with a poll question here. We want to pop one up. So I want to have you guys engaged. Some of these poll questions will be really tough, and some of these will be really tough. This one's going to be tough. So what is Kim H's favorite genre of music? I'm dying to see what the answer is, because I actually don't know. Give you a second here to make your selection, and you will be graded on this, so choose wisely. All right, final call. All right, Kate, what do we got here? I'm going to see some choices. Okay. Kim H, how did people do? It's a pretty split audience. So what do we got?
Not too bad. I will say that right now we'll listen to anything and everything from rap to worship music. But the genre of choice right now is my daughter. I have a preteen daughter, and she is into Taylor Swift. So everything Taylor Swift is everything that's playing right now in our house. So I guess you could say pop.
That's amazing. I like it. I like it. So, half the crowd guessed it right. So well done. Cool. Well, we're going to jump into some questions here for Kim and Kim to really walk the attendees here through some of the insights that they gained through this process of transforming the contact center. So let's give some context to this to start. Why don't Kim or Kim, either one of you, you're going to have to arm wrestle for answering these things. So can one of you describe to us really what the contact center looked like 2+ years ago at BHE? And then give us that, and then give us how does it look today from a technology standpoint, right? Give us some of that picture.
Yeah. Kim, you want to take it? You want me to?
Sure, I can take it. So yeah, prior to this, we were on a premise-based Genesis platform, and really our primary point of contact with our customers was through the IVR, through phone. And we did manage emails, but it was through Outlook. So not a great way to manage emails, no real reporting unless we, tracked it manually. So definitely not great, not a great experience for the employees or for the customers. So, that was kind of the basis for how customers could communicate with us. Anything to add, Kim?
Yeah, I would just say everything, we were pretty manual. We did have a knowledge base, but it was a homegrown knowledge base. And so nothing easy to navigate or easy to use. So I would consider us pretty outdated and manual in our technology. Did we have technology? Sure, but was it the greatest? Not really. So to Kim's point, it really was just very old, outdated, very on-premise, very manual, hard to make changes, all those good things.
Yeah, and I'll just throw in the complexity that we have, because we do serve 8 states, customers in 8 states with different rules and regulations. That makes it even more difficult, when you don't have a good knowledge base, you don't have a kind of an efficient way to manage customers. Calls, were longer, training is very complicated. So definitely a challenging environment for our employees.
Was there a compelling event? Was there, something that drove the migration? Was it we have got to upgrade because we're not meeting our customers' needs. But was there a piece of technology that wasn't providing enough? You decided it was time to go linear multi-channel. What was the driver? Did we just make a deal you could not refuse? You know,
Yeah, I would say we had to. We didn't really have a choice. We were kind of getting to end of life of either we had to upgrade to on the newest version on premise or move to the cloud. And so we had a lot of conversations with both our IT teams, our business side of things, and really tried to evaluate what made the most sense. And we did a business case to remain on premise. What would that look like? And how in order to get all the functionality we would get on cloud, what would be the cost to support that? And then really just ultimately decided cloud is the way to go. But that was really we had to do something. And if we were going to do something, we might as well jump to the 21st century while doing it.
Well, on that vein, I'm just curious, was this the first application for you guys to take to the cloud, other than email? Or were you somewhere in the middle of the cloud journey, or where were you on the overall transformation to cloud? Because everyone's in a different place.
I would say Black Hills Energy as a whole, this was the first large platform to move to the cloud. We had a few other smaller systems that were cloud-based, but nothing as critical or as large as the Genesis platform and what it supports. So this was very new to our organization. Lots of eyes on it from a cloud-based system, and a lot of people asking a lot of questions. Security was heavily involved. Lots of compliance was heavily involved. Everybody was very all eyes on this project. So cloud, that was really large.
Cool.
That's great. That's kind of to piggyback off of that. I know you guys both work on the business side of the organization, and obviously you've mentioned a couple of times IT's involvement. Can you give some color on how did IT and the business work together on this entire project, from deciding what to do through implementation, right? How did that, I think there's oftentimes friction points there, right? Let's just address the elephant in the room. So how did that work for you guys, and how did you make that successful?
I would say we're really lucky. We have a great partnership with our IT teams. They're very much hand in hand in everything we do. We bring them along. But I will say that IT was really a huge driver in the decision of moving to the cloud, modernizing our platform, huge advocates to move that direction, to make this decision. And I know that, yeah, there's always those friction points of we joke, our IT partner, he's, nope, we can't do that. And I'm give me everything and I want it all. So we joke that we make a good team because we challenge each other to meet in the middle and to find a good solution. But I will say we're very, very lucky here at BHE to have really good partnerships with our IT teams. And it really is just about building those relationships, having open dialogue and conversation. And it really helps that our IT team knows how important this platform is to serving our customers. So they're very much on board to making sure we get what we need in order to effectively meet our customers' needs. Kim, anything to add?
No, you did a fantastic job. I mean, it really is key to all of our projects, that relationship that we have with our IT team. Yeah.
When you started this, oh, sorry, Mike, go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to comment on the word that Kim H used, right? Partnership, right? Our IT partner. That's pretty interesting. I mean, good for you guys, right? On developing that kind of culture within the organization where that's how it's looked at, right? It's not this adversarial, it's really a collaborative relationship. And yeah, you've got different perspectives on things, but you work towards kind of a common goal. And so good for you guys. That's not easily achieved, but it takes work from everybody. So well done.
So, I was just curious when you started the journey, right? So, okay, we have this premises system, we have complete control of it, we have all this autonomy. It doesn't do everything we wanted to do, so let's check out this cloud solution. So when you're doing the evaluation, you're sitting with IT, you're sitting with the stakeholders, was there anything that gave you pause? Like, okay, we're gonna do the cloud, but what about, we're not so sure that this application or this particular, where were the concerns, right? Where were you hesitant, if anything, and how did you address it or compensate for it with the team? Like, did you come up with, test plan, or what was the scariest part, if there was a scary part, or the most apprehensive?
I would say when we were evaluating, the biggest piece is, we're a utility. We're used to controlling everything. We don't like to put our destiny in anybody else's hands. We like on premise. We want to be able to control everything. And I would say that was the scariest part for both our IT teams and our business teams was relinquishing that control and not being able to fully control everything in the sense of the reliability was not on us. It was through other providers. And if we had issues we couldn't control within our own teams, we had to rely on Inflow and Genesis to support that. And I think that was the biggest fear factor in the beginning of how do we navigate that and we're not in control of our own destiny at that point. And that was kind of scary to give up that control. But Kim, from your perspective, what other things did you have?
That was the main thing. I think the security side, just really vetting that out. But the exciting, I guess, side of the cloud was just the flexibility that we gained and the options. And I know we're going to talk about that a little bit later, but yeah, security side was definitely, I think, the scariest for us until we really vetted that through.
That's great. Get great insights. All right, keep everyone on their toes. We're going to do poll question number 2. So you'll see that pop up in a second. Please take a look at it here and put your response in. Go ahead, Kate, with that. All right, what is this top CX and technology initiative in your contact center for 2024? There is not a D or E, all the above. So you got to pick. You got to pick something.
That's a hard choice.
Trade-offs, just like what you said, right? Control versus flexibility, right? Like, yeah. All right, we'll give it a couple more seconds here. All right, we'll wrap that up and let's see what's top of mind for our attendees here. All right, so self-service and automation, and then analytics and knowledge management. It's great. So you'll see a lot of that, and I think we'll touch on some of that. It's a good segue probably into, you gave us a good sense of how the contact center looked, 2+ years ago, and you gave us a sense of the why the change. Once you guys realized, hey, we got to make a change, and you started planning on this, what were some of the really big objectives for this? When you said, okay, we want to change, but we don't want it to just be prem to cloud. We want to make some level of transformation and improvements here. What were some of those big objectives? And the second part is, how do you think you're doing on those, right? Two years later. So would love to hear from both of you.
Go ahead, Kim. I'll let you jump in first.
Okay. Yeah. So from my perspective, I mean, what I was most excited about with this was really to dive into additional touch points for our customers. Again, kind of modernize our options. So chat was a really exciting feature that we were looking forward to deploying, and chat bot and all kind of those bells and whistles that comes with a more modern platform to give our customers more options, and in hopes of really driving customers more to self-service and a more efficient way of managing our customer touch points versus a phone call. That's and some of the flexibility I think that we got with this platform. And I'm thinking specifically about, the flexibility in the IVR, where if we have a large scale electric outage or something's going on that's potentially driving calls, or just, the seasonality of the natural gas and electric business, we can quickly throw up a message in the IVR, trying to drive customers to self-service options, letting them know that we're experiencing longer than normal call times. That was very clunky before. That took us time. We had to record the message, and it wasn't something that we could just add in 30 seconds, and it is now. So that has been really exciting as well. So really just the flexibility and the technology has been a big win for us.
Very cool.
Is there anything measurable that you got, when we deploy technology, especially if you're not doing a lift and shift, you're actually doing a transformation, we hope you have these goals and objectives. Of course, there's hopefully measurable criteria. So what were the metrics that you use, and how can you, is there anything you could share, either reduce, increase transactions per hour, or just everybody's happier, what can you share? What do you have?
Yeah, I would say where things we aim to do is reduce our handle time, reduce inbound calls, and moving. So not necessarily your customer transactions, which that would be nice, but where they're serving, right? Move them from voice to chat, because obviously with chat, agents can be more efficient. We handle more than one chat at a time versus voice. You can't have 2 phone calls at once. So that was really kind of some of our metrics that we were really driving to, is be more efficient, reduce our handle time, allow more flexibility with our agents, and able to move customers to chat versus just a voice. So those were some of the definite metrics we looked at. I will say unfairly to us, this last year, since we've been on, hasn't been a good year of measure. I don't know if anybody's paid attention to the natural gas sector. Gas prices have been astronomically high over the last year. And so it was very unfair for us it was an abnormal year in how our customers interacted with us. So not a good metric to base it on, or a good year to base the success on. But those were a couple of things we really looked at. I will say handle time, a huge driver of that was we implemented the shelf system, integrated with Genesis. And that was a huge driving factor, is building a robust knowledge-based system that our agents could easily interact with. That knowledge sharing could be easily shared with them based on the type of phone call they were getting. They could easily search for information. They could ask the right questions to get the right answer versus having to dig through a process 17 pages long. They could jump to right where they needed. So that was a huge driving force of where we were going. And I may be bold in saying this, I think that without having that, I think over the last year, our handle time probably would have been much higher, with the circumstances we were in. So we may have not seen the massive reduction in handle time that we were hoping for due to the circumstance, but I think we at least avoided a lot higher handle time because of some of those features that we had. But Kim, if you want to disagree with me there.
I'll double down on that. So absolutely, that robust knowledge base has been a game changer for us. We went through some rough knowledge platforms in the past that just did not serve our agents well, and Shelf has definitely turned that around for us. Agents love it. They did not love the past options, but yeah, it's easy to search. It, like Kim said, it throws in the information that they need as the customer call comes in. That has been really, really critical, I think, from a change management perspective too, as we went to this new platform, because of the ease of use that came with that knowledge base. So I can't say enough about how happy we are with that platform.
Cool.
So I want to follow up on that if I can, everybody. So I was just wondering, so self-service, and now you have knowledge base that could be customer facing, maybe not customer facing. Did you implement did the migration or transformation drive any other changes, maybe from a portal perspective, or maybe other components to say, hey, we've got this contact center and this great technology. Let's take a look at some of the other pieces of where we face the customer and maybe not tie it in, but augment the support. Was there any of that going on? Did it drive any other change?
Yeah.
You want me to jump in, Kim? I can jump in on that. I would say, yes, those things are on the roadmap. We're only a little over a year into this platform, with the year that we've had with, high gas prices and whatnot. I feel like that has maybe slowed us down a little bit. We haven't quite deployed chatbot. That's definitely something on our roadmap, I'm hoping, for this year. But we're constantly looking at, the capabilities and the functionality and the things that we can implement that will, help our agents be more efficient and, provide a better experience for our customers. Kim, is there anything that jumps out at you that we have launched that we haven't already talked about?
I don't think that there's the big things that we really looked at too, and how we transformed is and it's not necessarily with the technology, but how we were structured in the contact center, right? And we've got chat and email and multiple channels, where before we were very flat and everything was voice. So how do we structure that? What does that look like? What type of agents do we need to hire for? Hiring for a voice agent versus a chat agent is very different. So there are other aspects that because of this, that we had to really take a step back and evaluate, and how do we transform not just the technology, but how we operate with that technology. I'll say that another piece that I know that, or at least it was looking at, is taking that knowledge base, to your point of right now it's just internal use, but with that system we can make it external facing, and you can choose which types of questions get external facing, right? So if you're a customer and you go to Black Hills Energy and you want to know, why is my bill so high, it can integrate with our shelf system and show that and put that up to the customer. They can have access to the same type of stuff that our agents have access to. We haven't gotten there yet, but that is definitely something I think you can do, and how you can really start to transform your interaction with your customers. And again, we are very early on, and to Kim's point, this year did set us back, I think, a little bit in how aggressive we go after some of those things. But there's a ton of opportunity to transform your interaction with your customer with this system.
That's so cool. Love hearing all this. Can you give us a sense, before I jump into my official, I'm going to fly off the cuff here for just a minute on it, because I love this. This is so interesting. You went from no chat, it was just voice, right? Interaction. Any sense of like how many, what percentage now is chat versus, can you give a rough idea of that, of interactions with customers, chat versus voice now?
Yeah, we still, when we launched, we hid our chat option a little bit on our website. It's only accessible when customers log into their profile.
Okay.
Because of the ramp up we needed to go through from a training perspective, to really make sure we were hiring the agents with that written communication skill set, because it is the agents that are communicating. It's not a bot, it's them. So we still have it behind the login. I mean, customers are finding it, definitely. It's still a small percentage of our interactions. Our plan is to, once we feel like we have the employee base that can really manage, a big jump in those chats, we'll move it outside the login where it's more visible to anyone. But yeah, we're still kind of easing into that.
So the gate. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, no, you're probably going right.
I like this stuff too.
I love this too. I'm totally like, this is amazing stuff, because people think, oh yeah, you just turn on chat, right? And you're highlighting the absolute reality, which is, what about the people side, right? Yeah. The skills, the training. You're highlighting all the sort of crawl, walk, run of like, this is like a phased thing, right? This is not I'm a big like 90s infomercial guy. So Ron Popeil, like, you just set it and forget it, right? Like, that is not the case.
Right.
You absolutely have to take incremental steps. And I didn't actually know that on the chat side. That's how you done it. And that makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I was just curious for the login as the gating factor. Is that so that you had guaranteed information provided to the agent, or was it just, you don't have to log in, at least they're going to be able to handle the chat from a technology perspective, or was it a little of both, or what was the driver? Or was it just, you just knew there were less people logging in so you could limit, that's an interesting gate. I like it. I think I'll take that as best practice.
I would say it was a little of both, right? We wanted to limit how many were coming at us all at once on day one. And also there was some concerns of like, how do we know who we're talking to, right? When you're got a chat, and in the utility business, you have to know, like, you have to verify the customer, you have to ask certain verifying questions depending on what type of information they're asking for. And so by using the login as credentials, it really helped with that as well. And I think that when we do move it to from in front of the login, I'm sure there will only be certain things that we can do in front of an answer if they're not logged in, and we'll have to have them either log in or do something to help verify that customer. Yeah. But I will say, I remember the first day when we made the decision to put it behind the login, I'm like, we're going to get two people chatting with us, and we're not going to be able to effectively tell how good this is being utilized. And I remember within the first few hours, we had like 50 customers chatting with us. And I was like, what? We have 50 customers already chatting with us? No way.
That's awesome.
Do they get
So that
prompted
was
for it,
pretty
or do they have to
exciting.
find it? Do they have to look for it, or is it once they're logged in, they do eventually get prompted for it? Like they totally
Pops
look
right
for
there.
it.
So in the login, behind the login, there's a contact us. And if they click that contact us, then they can see the phone number or start a chat with us. So they do have to kind of dig for it. So I was really expecting very limited, which 50 is still small, but it was way more than what I was expecting day one.
Yeah, 0 to 50. That's a jump still. So,
And to my point, you can't just, turn this stuff on, right? And so training is an issue, and just making sure that you have a way to respond. And it's if there's nothing worse to me, by the way, for the people that deploy self-service or chatbot, and it's intrusive, right? I've been on the website for 8 seconds. Hey, can I help? I'm good, right? Maybe because we can help, especially what Inflow is really good at is optimizing the contact center. So they're gonna be when you look at your chatbots, they're gonna be like, we can set a metric like if they hover or they stay in one spot for too long, maybe prompt them, right? Instead of just hitting them right in the face with how can I help you? Just like, wait, I'm good, and it keeps popping up. Like they're trying to sell you a car, right? So don't need that, right? But maybe you can leverage pop-ups for something like, hey, by the way, in your area we're having X. So that's where we love Inflow as a partner. These guys specialize in optimizing technology at that level across the board. So it's going to be fun to watch. I can't wait to do round 2 of this.
absolutely
next year.
doing a part 2 of this.
Okay.
This is like an annual thing now. We've got to. So you said you guys touched on something really interesting about knowledge, and I want to kind of expand. You talked about the agent side. I'm really interested. You guys are obviously really good partners with the IT and care about them and work collaboratively, and you care about your employees, the agents, the frontline staff handling all this, and the supervisors managing the metrics. How did they handle all this? What was that experience like for them?
Kim, you want to jump in, or you want me to take it?
You go ahead and take that. Talk about kind of how we approach that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I will say that our agents were the forefront of every decision we made, and we really thought through how does this impact them and impact our customer, right? We did not want to make any impact to a customer in the negative, wanted to make sure it was positive. We really brought our agents along. Our agents were a part of developing what our IVR flow looked like. Our agents were a part of deciding what information do they want to see when a customer calls. They were involved every step of the way, and I think that really did help. They helped decide what type of questions in our knowledge center do you want to see. Don't worry about what we have today. What matters to you? And let's start developing there, and we can expand. So with Shelf, it's very much an FAQ type system. So it's a question answer. So they just jotted down all the questions that they usually get on an everyday basis, and we use those to drive what we put in. What questions do you get from customers? That they really helped develop the system. So I really look at it as, yes, this is their system. There were things that they asked for that we couldn't deliver, or that we didn't feel like it was necessary, or it was once every 15,000 customers that we probably didn't need to spend the effort right now to do. So we really used them to guide everything we did along the way. And as far as training went, we started early. They got to see the system demos of the system before we started training. We held interactive sessions with them. They helped with testing. They were involved in the testing portion of things. It wasn't just a IT team or a leadership team testing. Agents tested. And then that really helped them grow their knowledge and their buy-in to the system. In our training, we used very interactive. We made them call the IVR, act as a customer. We had, they partnered together and had, one was a customer and one was the agent, and then they would flip, and we gave them scenarios to test. Same thing with the chat. We let them experience what chat was like, both from the customer side and the agent side. So we really did take our time and make sure we did a really thorough job on our training. And I think because of that, on day one, we've launched systems that day one is crazy, and it's all hands on deck, and you're fighting fires all day. And really day one and that whole first week was a breeze. like we had very limited questions, very little issues. From a support standpoint, it was like we had all day, 2 days worth of phone calls with an open bridge with Inflow, and I don't think we had to use it one time. So it was very smooth, and I think I attribute that to all the preparation we put in ahead of time to make it a very smooth launch.
You just gave a 2-minute master class. Oops, sorry, lose track. In change management right there. So well done. It's incredible. Kim S, anything you'd add to that too from agent kind of impact?
I would just reinforce the importance of including the agents in a project like this. We've made changes, to the IVR since going live, and we stood up a group of probably, 7 or 8 agents, and they really thoroughly tested the IVR and identified things that we didn't catch in the first run. So they hear from the customers, maybe pain points that the customer is running into in the IVR. They're such a great resource to involve in these type of projects, for sure. Any customer service related project, from my perspective, they're critical.
They really know what's going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
At the core level,
Yep.
And yeah, it's to the detriment. Got to find a balance, right? They need to do the day job too, and
right.
you can't have everybody weigh in on everything.
But
yes,
yeah,
but finding the
Yep.
balance, having little, it sounded like you had a lot of little kind of workshops with them of discussing and having them input and collaborate on the IVR build and the testing. I think it's brilliant. It's such a good. It's never going to go well when the first day they know about the project is when it goes live, right? And that sometimes that happens. So well done on finding a good balance of including them. It's really cool.
Yeah. And we've stumbled in the past, for sure. So we've learned from past mistakes and definitely did a much better job with this project. Mm-hmm.
Cool.
All right, so lessons learned. What can you share? Like, other people, utilities or other, have not started their journey or maybe considering it and looking closely. What do you want to share from an advice perspective? Whether it's approach or goals.
Yeah, I'll jump in with really the one example that I have. The flexibility with this platform is fantastic. It comes with all kinds of fun new bells and whistles. Really making sure you understand thoroughly the impact of those items. And the one example that I have is with our IVR, we implemented a natural language IVR where the customer can speak to the IVR, and we really didn't understand the incremental cost associated with the bots. So we didn't plan for it, we didn't budget for it, and that was something that we figured out a few months in. That there is a definite cost associated with that we hadn't planned on. So we did make the decision to actually pull that natural language bot back out of our IVR and just stay with the push prompts for the customers. So that would be a lesson for us, is really make sure you understand.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think there was anything else, Kim, was
no,
there?
I don't think so. I think, as much as you test and you ask questions in the development, you still don't know what you don't know. And so I think just give yourself grace. I will say that I was frustrated. I missed something and I'm like, well, how did I miss that? And it was really, the example is our emergency calls. So we have to handle our emergency calls our goal is within 10 seconds, we have to answer them. And so how we manage that is they get highest priority. And so we had it laid out. So we thought in our development of it that they got highest priority. We tested it. It showed that it was routing the way we thought it would. And the way we learned more after we went live, we're like, why aren't these emergency calls getting bumped first? Like, this isn't making sense. And so the way the Genesis Cloud handles priority is very different than how we handled it on-prem. And so having to learn that day one and making those changes and adjustments, I was frustrated with myself because I'm like, how did I not realize that? I guess, we tested it, we verified it, we put it in, we knew it was a priority, but still when we launched, there was that, you don't see it until you get the load on the system. And so just give yourself grace, but also understand that no matter how many things you test, no matter how many things you think you've planned for, things are you're gonna have little hiccups, and you just have to be willing to adjust and make those adjustments. But just know that it's okay that you don't know everything day one of the system, and you'll eventually learn it.
Did you guys have the mindset going in that, because you've illustrated a really important point, that this is a journey, not like a destination that you get to with the go live of the new system? Was that something you knew from the get-go, or is that something you've just sort of realized over time?
No, I would say we knew it from the get-go. Kim and our IT partner like to balance me out, because I'm like, nope, we're gonna go full-fledged. Let's do it all. I think we can do it. And they're like, but do we really need to do all that? But we have the opportunity. Let's do it. So I would say that it takes everybody, right? It takes the visionary, it takes the realist, and then we found ourselves in the middle, and then we're able to really say, okay, here's the plan. Here's what we can effectively go live with in this time frame, and how we can go live with it. And then here will be the journey along the way to get to that end point. But I would say, yes, we went into it like that, but at the same time, I think you have to go in knowing where you want to end up eventually with this big, large vision, so you can back into it. Because if you just go in like, I'm going to launch it, then there's no ever incentive to mature the process and to get better and improve. So
that's so well articulated, Kim. I think you're right. It's the balance of, there has to be some vision longer term, but you also have to be realistic about what you can bite off in that first phase, right? First wave of it. That's good. And I like the idea of the idealist and the pragmatist, right? In this balance, that's absolutely key. Make sure you have on your team people who don't say they agree fully with everything you say, right? On that, because you need some checks and balances. I love it.
Yeah. And I would say you really need to give yourself time to learn the new system, which is really what we've been doing over the past year, is really learning the reporting and the options. And it's a big change, so it takes quite a bit of time too.
So just one last question with me, because when you're faced with a change from the legacy premises system to the cloud, with all the ecosystem that goes with it, there's very much the art of the possible that needs to be discovered, right? So it's we know what we want to do, but what else can we do? And how did you explore that? Right? I mean, was there did you just put stuff in front of you? Like, did you go out and look at other contact centers to see the cool things that they were doing? Did you have like a wish list? I mean, it's hard to even know what you could do if you don't know what technology is available, right? I mean, it's a complete shift. So,
I will say that was kind of when we did an IVR workshop with Inflow. We partnered with Inflow, and we were like, okay, we know we want to revamp how our IVR works, but we don't really know a whole lot, because when you call other companies, you only get certain, especially utilities, you're only getting bits and pieces of how it functions. I will say Inflow did a fabulous job. Cannot say enough about Chelsea and how she helped us at Inflow, and she was so fabulous to work with us to say, hey, here's the art of the possible. Here's all these things that I've seen other companies do. We also brought our own research, right, from what we've seen other top tier utilities do, and what the Amazons do, and what the other, great companies do. And we took all of that and really started to build out this art of the possible within our IVR. And so I will say it's a little bit of everything, but I cannot brag enough about what Chelsea brought to the table in that IVR workshop. She would listen to our things, and then she'd be like, well, how did you know that we could do this in this system? And we'd be like, no, you mean we can do that? And she's like, totally. What else do you want to do? And so it was really a great partnership, and having really good people and resources that can help you make those decisions, because you don't know what you don't know, right? But I think laying out where you want to go and the pain points, and utilize those other resources and people to help you make effective decisions, I think is helpful.
Yeah, and I'll say that support is continued. I mean, we continue to partner closely with Inflow, and They've been great about, you know, kind of keeping us up on enhancements and things that are coming in the cloud, and based on conversations we've had. And kind of a more recent example, and this is a big win for us. We are working on developing the outbound call campaigns in Genesis Cloud. So we have had separate vendors in place, say for our outage calls, our electric planned and unplanned outage calls. We had a separate vendor in place to make those calls. We've since, you know, integrated that into Genesis Cloud and saved, you know, us a nice chunk of dollars by eliminating that separate vendor. And we're getting ready to do that now for our outbound collection call activity that is managed by another vendor. So, I mean, definitely Inflow has been really, really important in kind of helping us continue to move along with, you know, taking advantage of the options.
Yeah.
Wow.
I will say just a plug for chat too, and how we've utilized, and our IT help desk internally is on Genesis as well, and on the same platform. And when we started building that out, Inflow was really great to say, hey, did you know you could do this? Did you know you could do that internally? Did you know you could still leverage chat internally? It doesn't have to be external facing. And so our IT help desk actually has chat installed, and we can now chat with our help desk versus having to call, which selfishly, I love that. Nobody likes to have to call help desk. So I think that's
and text. We can text with the help desk.
Yes.
Yeah, it's been,
That's awesome.
yeah.
I'm like blushing because of the positive things you've said about the company. So well done. I had no part in it, to be clear. I'm not taking any credit, but I'm super, super proud to hear that. Those are awesome insights. Really, really good. So here we'll wrap up here and transition into Q&A. Before we do that, we've got a last poll question. And I'm really interested to hear how, Kim, both of you would rank yourself too on this poll. So let's see how people do. Kate, if you won't mind putting the poll up, poll number 3 here, our final one. So the level of technology adoption. So I want you to think about, for everybody, right? Rate your contact center's level of technology adoption from 1 to 5, 5 being the highest level of adoption, right? You're like fully AI enabled. You've got all this great self-service, That's 5. Where are you at in that spectrum? Let's give you a second to respond.
I think I would be really hard on us.
Me too. I think we've
Yeah,
barely
I'm interested to
scratched the
see if people
surface.
are like where people land here, because this is tough. I think we're all probably our biggest critics on stuff. So
yeah,
be interesting to see. I think a lot of people think, oh, I'm the last contact center to do this, and I'm like, no, there's a lot more who haven't done that yet. Don't worry, you're not the last. All right, we'll give it a couple seconds here, and then see the responses, and then would love to hear from Kim and Kim on your vantage point of how BHE fits in this kind of technology adoption ranking. All right, let's see what we got here, Kate, for responses. Okay, pretty even distribution across like the middle, which I think that's okay. Good. Kim and Kim, how would you put yourself in here?
Kim, I'll let you go first.
I think we're still at 2.
That's where I was going to put it.
I just don't think we're even close to where we need to be. Yeah, we're still just.
Yeah, I think there are aspects across that we're higher, but I think there are aspects that we are lower. So I would say we're in between that 2 and 3 for sure. I think there's so much more we can do and so much more we can leverage and expand and grow.
The journey continues.
It does. And it's something that we're digging into that is, of great interest is I feel like we still have a big blind spot in that we don't truly know why our customers are calling us. There's disposition codes, but, customer could be calling for 3 or 4 different things and we can disposition one reason. So we're exploring, I guess, some technology, some options. I know that there are maybe a couple providers in the App Foundry for Genesis. There's some others that offer this type of speech to text, I guess.
Yeah, it's called conversation intelligence, right? This conversation intelligence.
for calls, for emails, for chats, for social media, just to really understand what are the top 10 reasons that our customers are calling us. It oftentimes takes us a while to identify maybe an issue. Maybe we had a bill print issue where the customers didn't get their bill. It takes multiple calls and agents, you know, reporting that up before we figure out that we have had something happen, or maybe there's a process pain point that we have. So that's really a blind spot for us. And I think that's a huge opportunity and a game changer for really understanding customer sentiment and why they're calling us. So that's something I'm hoping we can tackle here in the next couple of years.
Love it. Look forward to helping on that journey, because yeah, there's so much insights there. It's amazing, right? I was going to you answered what I was going to ask, which is, what do you want to do with that, right? Which is what you described there, right? There's so much potential, right? It's funny, a lot of the engagements we've seen with customers on that, it's uncovered things not necessarily contact center related, right? The contact center is bearing the brunt of some of these things, but it's a workflow issue upstream, right? And other things like, oh, we didn't even know that was a problem. And so contact center is just getting hammered with calls and stuff, and historically didn't have the data to know that, hey, let me feedback and provide parts of the org that this could be improved, this could be changed, right? There's so many things that, and yes, there is the, how do we coach the agents better, and are they adhering to policies, and what's the sentiments and what's all the nuances of these things? But there's also the broader impact to the org of like finding issues and helping fix those. So that's super cool. Love it. You are probably a little harsh on yourself. I think you're more like a 2.5, 3, but that's fine.
We're always hard on ourselves.
Yeah. We always think we can do better.
Yeah,
that's good. It's striving for excellence. So now we've got a couple minutes left for Q&A of anyone in the crowd that's been watching. This has been phenomenal. Kim and Kim have done such an awesome job here of giving us insights into the transition. So we'll turn it over here. Kate's going to share out for any questions. Pose them in the Q&A chat here. We'll monitor it. Looks like we've got one to start us out here. Someone burning hot. So let me pop up my Q&A here. Here we go. This is definitely a good question. I don't know, we don't have IT on, so Kim and Kim, take your best stab at how did BHE evaluate the security of the Genesis platform? What did that look like, to the best of your knowledge?
Yeah, I cannot get too technical here because I would not look very intelligent. But I would say that BHE's security, being a utility, we take it very seriously. Very top tier. We have to follow, PII, PCI, all those compliance regulations. And so when our security team evaluated it, we have a separate security team. It all goes through. Everything has to be evaluated and I's dotted and T's crossed. And our team ended up signing off on it. Was very pleased with the security of the Genesis system. I know that our call recordings was a big topic of conversation because those call recordings can sometimes hold a lot of information in them. And so the encryption in those, I think, was something that was very well pleased and excited to have, and being able to store them in the cloud and not have to worry about how do we get them on-prem, right? And what additional costs we have to do to store them and have our own control over that security. And so I know our IT team and both Genesis and Inflow work together to make sure that all those answers and concerns were met. So I would say overall, very pleased with the security of the Genesis system.
Very cool. The next one, it looks like this might be the last one, unless the other ones come in, is around kind of going into the that topic you described of the flexibility versus control. So can you give any more color? The question is, can you give any more color on how you guys kind of came to terms with that relinquishing control feeling, and how did that process go? Was it sort of like a fatalist, like we just didn't know, or we just realized we didn't have it and we just had to embrace it? Or was there something in particular that gave you more comfort around kind of moving to cloud and embracing that concept?
I think we signed up to see the notifications ahead of time with the Genesis platform system. I don't remember the website or what it is, but it shows like all the outages and the different large scale issues. And we monitored that for months probably 6
Interesting.
months to a year before we actually did anything. And so that gave us a lot of peace of mind, right? We were able to see how many outages really happen broad scale, that the whole system goes down and we can't function, right? Because if we can't function as a utility and take those emergency calls, that's not acceptable. And so how do we do that? So we monitored that, I know, for 6 months to a year. And then just working very closely with Inflow and Genesis to talk through and, hey, here's all our concerns. Here's what we're worried about. What can you do to make sure that this doesn't happen? What other things can we do? I know that making sure we have a good phone provider, right? Like, what are we going to use? What's our backup if that goes down? What happens if the Genesis cloud system goes down? What do we do? What's our backup? How do we function, right? And so we wanted to make sure we had all those options covered. We talked through it, worked together and partnered, and ended up getting to a peace of mind that, hey, we still have some control here. But I think overall, just monitoring how real life interacts before we actually move forward, I think helped us a lot.
Yeah, and I think organizationally, we've been more open to cloud, and we're ready to kind of move to a more cloud environment and kind of get away from the on-premise and so much control. We've been really evaluating all of our processes to see what makes the most sense versus just hanging on so tight to control in some situations. So.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Well, congrats on being pioneers for that at BHE. I did not know that was like the first really core application. So that's extra pressure and stress, and well done. Really great insights today. I can't thank you guys enough for the time and sharing just so many really good lessons and insights. And you hear the sales and marketing stuff all the time, but it's like, we want to hear what really happens, right? And you guys did a great job of sharing that. And thank you for spending time out of a busy day. And we appreciate it. It's been really wonderful. You guys are a great reflection of BHE and the culture and the great organization you guys have built there. So thank you so much, everybody. If there's any questions from anyone in the audience that we didn't address or you want to follow up, we'd love to talk with you. And again, Kim and Kim, thanks so much. Steve, thanks as well. Everyone have a great rest of your day. We'll see you guys.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.